PK52, the Saturday morning meeting, have a couple of decisions to make right now. First of all, I snagged this off of social media today. I thought it was relevant. So here is a key machine, and not hard to find, the one key for the one car you have in stock. That's not funny, but it's accurate. I went by one of the bigger Toyota dealerships in the DFW area a couple of days ago. They had 19 vehicles for sale at that time, the entire store. That was their new car inventory. I went by another dealership last month. They had 7 vehicles available that weren't pre-sold to sell to the public. So is this an issue? The issue for me is you. Listen, Toyota's made an announcement that nobody's going to get laid off. So all the people that work for TM&A are securing their job, which I think is very important for the manufacturer, because nobody working as an associate of Toyota Motor North America is responsible for this problem, so they've taken care. What I'm worried about is, as the allocations get smaller and the product that you have available to sell gets smaller, then I'm worried about you and your income. Listen, I know you can do the math, but in America, they're trying to make everybody say, if we can go to $15 an hour, everybody will have a living wage. Well, I know where some of you live. I've been where you live. And $15 an hour doesn't take care of either your mortgage or your rent, along with the household needs. That doesn't even cover that. So is it too much to ask that the sales professionals and the management in dealerships selling the #1 automotive product in the world deserve to make a higher than average pay scale? And the answer to that is yes. But there's things that have happened in the past in the car business. Anytime there is a joint effort to manufacture something. So we don't make the computer chips. We don't make the tires. We don't factor out and form the leather that goes in the cars. So in order to build a vehicle, there has to be many vendors. So many people that are purists of Toyota were so upset that we co-opted the Supra with BMW, but we co-opt everything we make with so many different other manufacturers of the items and components that go in the car, that lets us be subject to any change in the market. If all of a sudden metal costs went through the roof, that would affect the build out of Toyota product and the people that will buy cars. Just one example. So over time, cash for clunkers. Nobody saw this coming. I mean, the government steps in and really makes us destroy all the used cars out there that were older, so that people had to buy new cars, which boosted up the sales for the domestic manufacturers. It was a step in for the government to make sure that the big three would come back into a profit reign, and it worked. I mean, it worked. There was no used cars. You had to buy a new car. Then the tsunami came. So when a giant wave totally disrupts the part. So it didn't mean that the workers in the United States working at our assembly plants, who are the best on the planet, weren't ready to make a car. But if we can't send them the components, they can't put the car together. So they're at a standstill. So there is nobody from TM&A or nobody from Toyota Motor Manufacturing that are to blame for the disruption in the product right now. So I was talking to a region the other day, and one of their next drops for allocation for the area was going to be 9,000 units. That drop, and I verified it by one person, but that drop now went from 9,000 to 1,800. That's an issue. When there's not enough cars to be sold, then, what do? I think that if you represent Toyota, then you need to earn a better than average pay scale for the industry, because we're the best of the best. Then we come over and we look at the situation right now. And let me say this. So when I started selling cars, there was no markup in Toyotas. And I know some of you know how far back I go with Toyota. So our luxury cars, that means cars that had automatic and air, that was luxury in the 80s, gang. My dealer put an $800 pack on the car. And whether you like packs or don't like packs, if you sign the dealer agreement with your dealer and pack is part of the pay plan, it's part of the pay plan. So we had some cars that didn't have enough spread from MSRP to the invoice to cover the $800 pack. And the rest of the low-end cars, like for example our trucks that had vinyl floors, vinyl seats, 4-speed standard, no air, no radio, no outside passenger mirror, no bumper, those vehicles had a 250 pack. And the spread in that vehicle, the base Toyota truck, was a little less than $400. So our minimum commission was $50. So there was a lot of cars that you sold that no matter what you did, it was going to be $50 to you. So you sold a car, got them down the road, and hopefully they bought some accessorization so you could sell them air, sell them something else, and increase your profit spread. But you dealt with it. And so that was the case. The used cars, that's where we made our money. So if we could trade for a car, then here was a $1,500 front, $2,500 front, and we could make money, and the used cars had a $250 pack on them. So, used cars became the way to be able to make your income. Well, our dealer didn't advertise for used cars. We got cars in trade. We would buy occasional cars at the auction, but we had a Cadillac and a Pontiac store and Honda across town, and they were the big three. We were the newcomers for this dealer group. And so, we didn't have a buyer that went to the auction. We got the leftovers of what they didn't want. So we had to go out and do stuff. So my owner came to us and goes, the easiest way to be able to sell a used car is to find one that you can sell, trade for it, and sell it yourself. And so one day a week, and I know this is stupid, but one day a week we had paper sacks at the grocery store. So I know that outlives a lot of you right now. You go, what are you talking about, paper sacks? Well, we didn't have plastic bags back then. They had these big trash sacks. He said, go tear off the trash bag and write, Casey Nix, I really would like to have your car. Please call me if you're interested in selling it. And one day a week we had to go to a parking lot somewhere in town and just find cars that we thought we could sell and just slip the paper under the windshield wiper. Most of them ended up on the ground. But believe it or not, every once in a while we'll say, hey, somebody put this paper thing on my windshield wiper. And then we'd have a conversation and they would come in and we would trade them out of the car. So my effort produced that car deal. And, every once in a while they'd come in and catch another salesperson when it clearly said on the paper sack, Casey Nix. But that's all right. We created our own traffic. And so I don't know what your dealership's doing right now. I know one thing, that now that we have a disruption in Toyota product, that within the next 3 weeks, the Toyota product running through the auction gang is going to go through the roof. It is going to be so high, and your dealer is going to look at this. Let me give you a quick story, and I don't want to take too long, but this is important because 6 months from now, as we start to get into this next wave of it'll be over eventually, I want you still to be here. Y'all are my family. I don't want you leaving to go work at Home Depot because there's no cars to sell. I want you to be able to create something, and we've got two choices. There's two clear choices in nearly everything you do. You can complain that there's no cars. You really can, because there's no cars, and nobody's going to argue with you when you start complaining. Man, we only have 5 cars to sell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You are correct. There's only one key in the key machine. You're absolutely correct. So that's a valid complaint. What are you going to do about it? I will be honest with you. So my youngest son had a car, standard transmission, and he was done with shifting gears. Now he rides motorcycles. He doesn't mind that. But he was done shifting gears through the traffic in Dallas-Fort Worth. And we talked the other day, and I said, listen, I've got a vehicle that I have sitting in the driveway that over the last 12 months, I put 2,000 miles on. I haven't driven the car. It's my FJ Cruiser. It just sits there in the driveway. And occasionally I drive it to make sure the battery's up, but I don't need it because Courtney's got another car. We use her car, and there's just the two of us. And so I said, sell your car right now because it is the best time to sell a car. And you can drive my FJ until the market adjusts and go out and buy you another car. It's fine. It's fine. I'm covered under insurance. Go do it. So he sold his car. He went to his used car manager. He is a tech at a Toyota store. He went to his used car manager and he goes, hey, would you like to have my car? He goes, I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it. I mean, here's a car that he could make a profit on, but he didn't want it. So he went right next door to CarMax. He drove the car he's driving right now. He bought that car for $8,000. 2 years ago, CarMax gave him a check for $7,300. So he drove a car for 2 years for $700. I think that I'll claim him as my son. That's a good buyer. Now he will wait until the market adjusts, until there's product out there. He can drive my FJ as long as he needs to drive it and then get in another car. So how many people in America, of the 300 million people that live in this country right now, how many of them are working from home with 2 vehicles that they don't need. I mean, be honest with you. You see some of these cars that come into service. There's a 3-year-old car with 32,000 miles on it. So they're driving 10,000 miles, 8,000 miles, 11,000 miles a year. And basically they're driving the car because they're just swapping off. They certainly could do all of their mileage on their other car. So there's so many households in America right now that don't need 2 or 3 cars. They don't. So what do I want you to do about it? So here's something that I've used in the past, because paper sacks aren't really available and I don't like people throwing stuff on the ground. This is a static cling. It can say whatever you want. It's so inexpensive. They come in little long sheets. The printing companies can print these out. If you don't have a printing company, contact me. I got a printing company that can do this. And you go, I want your car. It's got the name of your dealership on there, and then your name. And if you want a secondary number, it's cheap to buy a phone that has voicemail, and you can have them go, hey, this is KC, and if you're calling right now because you got one of my static clings and you're interested in finding out what your car is worth, tell me what car you had so I can reference it. Let me call you back with the exact information. So you don't even have to take the calls live, gang. Wouldn't it be nice to open up your voicemail about 1 o'clock in the afternoon and see 12 or 13 incoming calls of people trying to give you product that you could sell right now? No, Casey, I'm just going to sit here and say we don't have any cars and I'm going to complain. So there are so many hundreds of you right now that are going to be watching this, and you're not going to do anything about it. I mean, it is going to be easy because nobody's going to sit there and go, now you're having a bad month, because it's obvious why you're having a bad month, because there's no cars to sell. When there's 43 million used cars sold per year. 43 million. And people are begging for cars right now. They're begging for cars. And the nice thing about it is, if you buy somebody out of their car, they might buy another car from you if you have it. But there are people out there right now, if they were smart, if I was their advisor, Casey, what do you think? I've got a second car in the house that we're not driving. Neighbor, moving to South Texas. Three houses over. We were talking one day, walked over in the yard, and we were talking, and I go, are you taking both cars? He goes, well, we don't, we're retiring. We don't need both cars. We've got a little Nissan pickup truck, and we've got our little RAV4. And I said, well, if you don't need both cars, it'd be a brilliant time to sell it. So he goes down to CarMax. He sells his Nissan 2-wheel drive pickup truck for more than he bought it for 4 years ago. So all you have to do is tap them. Are you really using the car? There's never going to be a better time. Sit on the money. I'll pay you the money for your car. Sit on the money when the market comes around. Let me end with this right now, because nobody's really paying attention. I guarantee you, because I'm ranting and raving. If I was the dealer principal right now, if I was the general manager, or I was a manager right now that wanted to own my own store, you know what? If I can get creative right now and I can make money for my dealer, then the next time my dealer buys another franchise, I'm going to be running that franchise. If that's what you're interested in, if you're a senior sales associate and you're ready for that next click, fix it. That's what we do. Fix it. If I was a dealer right now, I would not only pay you top dollar for your Toyota that you're not really using, I would also give you a $1,000 voucher that could be used to buy a Toyota in the future of any brand or any car, any model at any time. I don't care if it's a one-off Prime. If you'll let me have that car right now, I will give you a $1,000 voucher. So there are so many things. They're on my list right here. I didn't even go through my list. But right now, there are people out there that aren't using their car. We need their cars. Let's get aggressive. Why did my son have to go to CarMax with his 5-speed or 6-speed, with his manual transmission to sell it? Because his used car manager didn't want a manual. Why did he have to go to CarMax? Could they have made a profit at the Toyota dealership on his car? Fight for your inventory. You are not the kind of people that sit down and wait for things to pass. You've never been that way. That's why you're in commission sales, because you have the ability to create something. Don't let depression shove you down. Don't let doubt shove you down. Don't let somebody on the outside that says, well, it's greener in the other pasture, draw you away from something that over the last year you've made so much money. There are some of you, as I close, that started in this business within the last year. You've never experienced a tsunami before. You've never experienced a government program before called Cash for Clunkers. And you've never ever seen Toyota disrupt their manufacturing plant because of part supply deficit. You're now seeing it. Work through it. Work through it. Work with your dealership to bring inventory in. There are 40 salespeople on the sales floor. How many of these can you put on a car in a parking lot, at a movie theater, at your school, while the people are waiting in line for you to pick your kid up? Walk by and go, what are you doing? I really want your Sienna. I ain't trying to lie to you. You know you got another car at home. PK52, the Saturday morning meeting.